one thing that my dad always taught me was, you take care of the community, you take care of your people, like you take care of people, and it'll come full circle.
Absolutely.
And when I feel down or what am I doing, there's always like a sign from, above. And it's like somebody just comes in with like the greatest thing to say to just remotivate you.
Well, joining us today at the table is Kim Staff from Staff Carpet. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I'm
thank
excited.
you for coming.
I'm excited.
You showed up this time.
I showed up this time.
It's unbelievable.
I watch this all the time, and I could not wait to be featured and I guess with
I was
you
waiting
guys.
for you to cancel because it was
Yeah.
too till.
Well,
She said she watches all the time. I think we better back up because lightning may strike.
Watch out. Well, and Matt texted me yesterday, 11 tomorrow, and I was giving him a hard time. I had it in my calendar. I was like, and he's like, seriously? I'm like, no, I'm just messing.
Yeah.
I've got it down. I got it down. So
Yeah, we probably don't have enough hip guests for her to watch. What do you think?
Yes.
no, but I
You
think
just offended all of our previous guests, by the way.
I think it's great, and I think more people need to know about it. And now, everyone's gonna know.
Yep.
I'm gonna
Right, with
shout
you
it
being
everywhere.
on here, I mean, this is going to be
It's gonna be-
everywhere.
hey, we're
Yeah.
at the table, and there's nothing else that you don't want to watch.
It's going viral,
Everybody
right?
Let's
knows
go.
Kim Staff for
I
sure.
love it. I
Hey,
love
we
it.
went international with Desiree Logsdon.
Yes, we
from
did.
Bun.
Did
Yeah.
you?
Oh
That's
yeah.
what she
I
says.
bet.
What she
That's
said,
awesome.
yeah.
Yes.
I love it.
People
No,
all
this
around
is
the world
cool.
watch it
For sure. So,
Yeah. No, this is something that like we've talked about doing in our business, just to relate it to our business and like a day in the life of what home remodeling and updating certain things looks like. And I mean, I think I'm inspired today. I mean,
You are.
give me like
Hey,
a month,
we are
and we're gonna have this
inspirational.
set up, and
like
I'm gonna
it.
have to come
Yep.
up with something better.
Yeah.
Like the table's good. I don't know.
What would you name your podcast?
Leave it all on the floor.
Oh,
and
I
then
like
let
that.
me kind
Yeah.
of pitch it out. Yeah.
I like
And then
that.
you guys will be my first guests. I
Okay.
love it.
Well,
Yeah.
we
We are
wanted
in
to
it.
do this for a long time, and we had a marketing guy with us, Jay, and he always told us it was a really bad idea, and then we just did it anyway.
Yeah,
Well, but
exactly.
It is.
Then he
but-
went and opened his own deal, 3Link.
Oh.
Yeah, Jay Woodrum, that guy right there. Yeah, he did.
Actually, he told us for a year that we needed to do this.
Yeah.
You guys know people, and everybody likes to hear people's stories.
Yeah.
And we're like,
We
we're
weren't
not
buying
doing
it.
it. We didn't want to do it. And then Jay said that finally he twisted our arm, and he was right.
Well, it's all how you run it, though,
today
too,
it's probably
right?
going to get 100,000
Oh,
views.
I doubt it. I doubt it. It's all in what you promote it as, right?
Yes,
That's right.
Yes, but in all seriousness, we have learned people love to hear people's stories.
Yeah.
People see the name Staff Carpet, but they don't know the story behind it.
Yeah.
So what generation are you? Are you second or third?
I'm third.
Third, okay.
Yep. So third generation. And
Give us the story of how it started, like your grandfather.
yeah, so it's actually a pretty cool story. Now, when I was growing up, I probably didn't think it was that cool, but now looking back
Yeah.
at everything. So my grandpa was what you'd call a peddler. So he would take a van from Springfield, Illinois, pedal down to Dalton, Georgia, buy rolls, pedal back up, set up shop, and he didn't have a building at the time. He would host a sale in a parking lot, sell the van,
Is
go
that
back down.
right?
I love
Yeah.
it. That's awesome.
And what's really cool is he started, one of the first guys that kind of got him going was this gentleman, Buddy Parker. And I got to meet Buddy Parker, how old was I? It was probably 12 or 13 years ago. And it is like wheeler dealer. Like you hear kind of these stories of my grandpa where he'd carry around like a suitcase full of cash,
Yes.
just sold all this, going down and coming back. And I always had this image of Buddy Parker. And when I went to his spot in Dalton, Georgia, there's like this whole grove that's just like carpet outlet, this, that, and the other. So he wasn't buying from the manufacturers direct. He was buying from somebody that would buy from the manufacturers and then wheel and deal to him.
Okay.
And I walk into Buddy Parker's spot. He has a glass eye because he had been shot.
Oh, man.
And
Oh.
he still remembered my grandpa and my dad. And I got to share a lot of stories with him. And he still would sit with a suitcase like I'm telling 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Just a whole different world. And we would still wheel and deal with them. And he's like,
That's
Kim, why
awesome.
aren't you buying rolls from us?
I
And
love
I'm
it.
like, well, it doesn't come with a warranty. And that's what we, that's what we need today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great
What's like
story.
I picture like what's that guy's name? Mattress Mac or with the guy that's in Houston?
The Houston,
yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
He seems like that type of guy, a wheeler dealer.
It is, and it's like, but that's what it is, and it's like old, like people would just load up and they'd go, and a lot of installers would do it, and then my grandpa just got on the board of doing it, and he would drive my dad down, and then they would come back. But then he bought his location, I think in 1972, if I'm correct, right across from Gate 8 of the fairgrounds. It's modern countertops now. And it was just a small, it was like, it almost looked like a little house. And we still have a picture of Jim, my grandpa, sitting in front of it. And with like the first staff carpet sign, and he's just like leaning up against like a Chevy or whatever, and it's like, here we are,
Yeah, that's awesome.
We've arrived.
Yeah.
We've arrived,
Yeah.
and it was Jim's staff carpet and wallpaper, and then
would they have installed back then or just sold carpet?
I think it was more of a sale.
Sales,
Yeah,
okay,
and
gotcha.
then like installers would come to them. He did a lot with property management, and it's just such a different world than it is now.
Sure.
But then my dad moved away to St. Louis, and then my grandpa called him up one day and said, "Hey, I need your help." And my dad and then his two sisters were really involved, and then one sister, Kelly, stayed involved, and then as things progressed, and my dad had a vision, and it grew, and he kind of told my grandpa, it's me or Kelly in a sense. And my dad ended up buying him out, and his whole family moved to Fort Myers. And then my dad, I think, took it over like in 1980, so like 8 years after that. And then he started to add on to the building, built the warehouse, started contracting crews throughout. I started there. My first job was at Buffalo Wild Wings on Wabash, and they wouldn't work around my traveling basketball schedule. So, like, I give them my schedule, and then they're like, "You're working that day." And I'm like, "This isn't working." So then my dad's like, "Just come to staff, and you can do reception." And so I started working there, and then I had no intention of staying. But then when I went to ISU, and then I moved back home, I was going to go to Mizzou, but then I went to Benedictine, and I started working, and I just started to fall kind of in love with what I do. And I got offered a job to work corporately after I graduated, but I had to guarantee like 3 years in Dalton. And I go, what have I built, or what have I been working towards to do that? And then
Dalton, Georgia.
Yeah, Dalton,
Okay.
Georgia. Yeah,
In the
for
carpet.
Shaw.
Yeah,
Yep,
Shaw, gotcha.
Yep,
Yep.
to work corporately for them. And then we were at Gate 8, across from Gate 8, and it got to a point where my dad's like, we either need more space or we need to make a move. And I remember my mom and I we came back from being out of town, and my dad said, "Oh, I just put an offer in to buy that building over off of 304 West Browning, and it was vacant. It used to be like a car auto body shop." And my mom goes, "You did what?"
Oh.
And so that took about a year to get it live and going. And then we didn't even move, not even a mile. We're still in the county. But we were at the stoplight of Veterans and
it's a great
Browning.
spot.
Yeah,
It is a
and
great
it just
spot,
kind of took off from there and started to switch our business model a little bit. But it just kind of all peaked.
What kind of changes in your business model?
So my dad kind of did like the wheel and deal thing that my grandpa did, which there's a benefit to it. But Springfield, and a lot of it had to do kind of with like HGTV, Pinterest, and House, and those types of social media outlets. People started to glamorize their house, and it's like, what can you do? Like, it's not just coming in and buying the tile that's 99 cents a square foot. We have it huge place for it, but our biggest competitors with that would be your big box stores.
Gotcha.
Where we just started to like say, hey, you can do this. Started making it a style and an experience, and started doing more order in. More design, trying to help people work the process all the way through. I still remember Jim Mohan with Mohan Builders. He was with another store before ours, and I got the opportunity to work with him probably 10 years ago. He had brought a customer in that bought mid-spec, and he's like, Kim, staff, I would call him and offer to bring them, like just try to earn their business. And I'd be like, can I bring your guys like pizzas or waters to job sites? And like, who is this? You know, Kim's staff. And he started giving me some of the rentals, and then I got the opportunity to do a new home. And ever since then, our relationship started. And he kind of showed me options are, you know, there is no limit, you know, just engage with the customers, provide them with great service. You know, we can help you with your paint. We can help you with your lighting. We can help you with your countertops. And and then we would, you know, refer other locally owned businesses. But that kind of just started the movement of, you know, it's not just about flooring. It's about how does this whole room come together. And we started to build upon that. And one of the biggest battles was with my dad and I. We would butt heads. He'd be like, well, we need all this inventory. I'm like, well, people are willing to wait. You know, people are willing to spend
to get what they really want, right?
$500 more in the big cost to get exactly what they want. And then when COVID hit, it really started to take off, where then it's like, you can't get it tomorrow. You have to wait. So let's, you know, cater to those customers. And we started really jumping in on social media with Ootbox. Andrew Bartlett, when he started, he was like, hey, I think you guys should do this. And in our business, they always give you like stationary pictures, you know, like this is what this floor will look like. And I'm like, well, why are we using that when we've got the best thing here to show all the jobs that we actually do? So we started doing like walkthrough videos and things like that, showing people what we do on social media, kind of like our whole take on HGTV or like transforming your home. But it just started to grow from there, and then started to get in the furniture business. Is it 2025? So in like 2021, started picking up with the furniture and like design business. We sold a ton of furniture just based on like us selling it, and did a couple jobs as far as commercial jobs and whatnot. And then we decided to open up a furniture store. So
you have a lot of inventory in there. I've been there a couple times. So it looks
it's a
nice.
whole different inventory.
It looks nice. It does look nice.
You want to buy some of it?
I'm looking at buying a couple sofas.
No, it's adapting to like flooring sells off your shelf in inventory. Furniture, that's been like the biggest learning curve. But it's been great.
Right?
It's just been, you know, not ever having a showroom. To then like your reps that sell all over the country, they're like, oh, you know, this white sofa is the bee's knees. Well, yeah, it might be on the East Coast, but it's not in Springfield. Anybody that wants to buy a white sofa, I've got like 4 of them right now, and I'll sell them half off because they need to move, and I got the good stuff coming in. But
I love it.
So it's been, we're just trying to be full service, but, you know, promoting the other businesses within our community, because one store, you know, you don't want to do it all. You want to do what you know, and you want to love what you do, and then pass it to the next person that does the same. So, but yeah, when I started growing the furniture, that's when my dad and I, we transitioned, and I bought him out 3 years ago, this past January 1st. And, you know, it's just like the next evolution of, I hope that kind of.
Yeah. No, that's
Just
great.
Well, I mean, you certainly are not a traditional flooring company.
No.
I mean, and it just seems like you have a lot of value adds, at least in my opinion. I don't know how long we've known each other, but in the 5 to 7 years that I've gotten to really know you as a business person, I mean, you have a lot going on in a good way, which, I mean, it seems like, and I'm like, how does she keep track of all of
manage
that?
all that?
You know?
Yeah, it's like the only thing my brain has capacity for.
But you must have a good management team, too, to help you out, I would imagine.
And that's the hardest thing in our business, you know, and this is what we try to strive for, you know, other businesses such as like car dealers or probably real estate, things like that, you know, they have resources out the end to automize their business.
Right.
Well, our business is so unique where it's like there's not like one set program that fast tracks or makes it more efficient for a flooring store.
Right.
I mean, you can get different softwares. You know, you can get different softwares to help you with scheduling and whatnot, but everything is so changing on our day-to-day basis, just like what you guys know. Like, you've got to be guns a-blazing ready when a storm hits. Or, you know, if, God forbid, you know, a catastrophe happens at someone's house. So you just always have to be being willing to move and change and adapt. And stuff goes wrong in our business every day. You know, we're not robots putting things in.
Right.
So it's how you build the trust with the customers and prepare them, the best that you can. And I think that's what we strive to do for, we call it our staff carpet experience, or we give the second mile service.
Yeah.
Anybody can give you that first mile, right?
Yeah, I like
but
that.
It's what happens after the first
and
mile.
I've witnessed that.
Yeah.
I've been on a couple jobs where and one in particular in Leland Grove, it was a tile job, I believe, or something. And there was absolutely nothing wrong with the ceramic tile.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember the one I'm talking about, but I think you stepped up and said, I'll replace all of it. And there was nothing wrong with it. And I think you called me out to say, hey, can you take a look at this? And I was like, this is unbelievable. And that was when I think you had just bought the business from your dad. And I thought, well, that you do. I've witnessed the service you provide.
Well, and you hope it, you hope it pays itself for.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
But,
And by the way, if you do need to take a phone call, nobody's ever actually answered a phone call during the podcast.
So that would be,
that would be a first. That'd be memorable.
That
would be memorable.
Is
that the chick that took the phone call?
Yeah, first one ever. There's a first time for everything.
Let's table that.
On the table.
On the table.
Yes.
No, but you just take care of people. And, one thing that my dad always taught me is at the end of the day in retail, the customer's always right. Well, we actually I don't believe the customer's always right, but the customer is always the customer.
That's right.
Yes.
And
agreed.
But we take accountability where it's like, I feel for people. You go in, you guys deal with it too. It's probably the most relatable business without being a flooring store. That we have such similarities. We're going in and we're disrupting people's sanctuary where they come home, they feed their kids. They have this is their decompress. This is where they wind down, and they're allowing us to tear it apart, and then put it back together and hope. You tear out 1,000 feet of tile or wood. You've got to make them aware of, hey, it's going to be dusty. We're going to ding the wall. Paint touch-up is normal. If I gouge your drywall, then I'll send Deweese to fix it. You just have to make them comfortable with something that's going to be uncomfortable.
Yes.
And that's where I think you have honest conversations, and it's gotten, you get to the point, if you don't have problems, I always say you're not probably busy enough.
That's right.
And things will happen. We're human. But when somebody calls me up and they're saying, hey, Kim, this is my experience, I'm always like, what would you like me to do? And half the time, they'll tell me something way less than what I was going to offer. And that's great, That's the way. But they just want to feel valid in how you can get better. And that's where they come in, they deal with a salesperson, we go measure, we order samples, you finalize the sale. Then we're waiting on our manufacturers. Then we rely on guys to go out there and install it and take care of it and walk away.
Yep.
And it's a very hard business that if you don't stay on top of it and stay with it, you could, someone could pass you that's going to do the same thing.
Right.
So you just kind of have to stay on the grind, every single day and brainstorm new ways of making sure people are taken care of.
What are some of the biggest challenges you face? Would it be employees, trying to find good employees, skilled installers?
Knock on wood, those are the best attributes probably we have right now.
Cool. That's great. Yeah,
good for you.
That's awesome.
The biggest thing is making sure because times aren't like COVID times right now. And the biggest challenge that we're dealing with is, why should someone shop with Staff Carpet and not the lowest bid or I read this online? And that's probably the thing that is probably the hardest thing for me is I try to express to customers, one thing in our business right now, not to bore you, but floating floors were the biggest fad the last 5 years.
Right.
All right. Also in 5 years, being in the Midwest, we have basements, we have unlevel floors, we have all sorts of different problems. And that, somebody that's slab on grade in Florida, California, East Coast, they don't have to deal with. So one of the biggest challenges that we have right now is our customers will say, hey, they said I can do this click together floor, lay it over my existing, not have a problem. Well, over the last 5 years, we have had well over 6 figures in replacements because they have changed the warranties and how that floating floor looks, how it's supposed to be. And the biggest thing that I say is, I understand that flooring store A and B are saying you can do it, but I'm telling you with our job site specialist that we have, he's got a level on your floor. Your floor is at a level 2 inches. How are they going to make a floating floor work and stay together?
Yeah.
Well, they said if it splits, they'll just come back and repair those parts. And I'm like, so would you buy a car that you know might have an issue and they're just going to keep repairing it until it's not?
Right.
So our biggest challenge is, I want to say, other stores aren't as vested as we are. And I mean, Arizona Tile, great competitor. If we don't have something, I say, you know what? They'll take care of you like we would. And I truly believe that. And there's enough business in town to go around for everybody. And they care. I mean, it's their name on the building. But I have the hardest time when you hear like that. I know that salesperson's at that store has only been there, because I do my research, like a year or 2 years. And I'm like, you're going to do that when they don't even have skin in the game, that if it does fail, they don't care if you never use them again. I care. I want you to shop with me in 5 years, in 10 years. I want your kids. I want your grandkids. I want everybody to shop with me and have the same experience. And I don't want you to be mad at me. I want to see you out at dinner and you say, hi, my flooring looks great, not... Don't ever.
There's the people that put in my screwed up floors.
And trust me, we live and learn, and it's uncomfortable. But the biggest challenge for me is we educate ourselves. I'm so invested because it comes out of my pocket if something goes wrong, and that's where you get frustrated. Or I get frustrated, or just. I don't want our industry to be viewed as like a used car salesman or a used car dealer. There's more value to that. And when you have hours invested with somebody and they don't give you an opportunity, like, here's my thing, go get other bids. Feel comfortable. We're going to be in a relationship for a week, month, however long it's going to be. You need to feel comfortable. But if I don't have the opportunity to compare apples to apples or explain, over $500, I'll give you the $500. I just want to make sure you're getting the right product.
Getting what you need and it's done.
So that's the biggest challenge, because they're
interesting.
And it's, there's a lot of times people that travel to us, they're passing 4 stores before they even get to me. And they're like, well, why are you telling me this? And I go, I'm telling you this because of these reasons. So that's the biggest challenge, and just making sure I don't want people to think we're out to get them, like other retailers or that mindset is. So,
so we hear that. I mean, we had one on Friday. I had a call with somebody like, "Well, we're going with these other folks because they're $800 cheaper." I'm like, the cheapest isn't always the best. And when you use Peerless, we are going to give you our very, very best and do it 100% by the book.
Well, and when we refer you guys. The biggest thing in our business is dry time for carpet. So you can have your carpet steam clean, but if it stays wet for 48 hours, it's going to be trashed. It's a problem, It voids a warranty, and it does everything. And it's like, I think in one of your competitors, like Fine Lines, they had said like up to 48 hours. I mean, this was years ago. And I said, you don't want your carpet to be saturated for that long. No. It'd be a terrible deal.
It'd be terrible.
It's not indoor-outdoor carpet. It's indoor, residential.
Exactly.
And it's those little things that until it costs them, you don't know. And I've been in the business long enough now where I know certain customers that I lost probably 10 years ago, but I'm seeing them now, and they're just like, you know what? We did it this way the first time. It's not going to happen again. And, but challenges like with installers and stuff and scheduling, you also need to send the right person in to do that job. If I've got little mouthy Jimmy, he's great to go into rentals and no one's there, but I'm not going to send him to Mary Jo's house that she just wants to bake you cookies and not hear you run your mouth, So you just have to look at all dynamics to make sure they fit. And that's a challenge in itself.
100%. Hey, so we always say, like in our business over probably the last 20 years, we say that we as a carpet cleaning company, we've lost the first floor. Because it's, LVT, hardwood floor, ceramic, all that. So if you think about that, we used to clean all that carpet. Like all the main floors in the 80s, was all carpeted. Even bathrooms, believe it or not, right? Which is disgusting to even think about, but it was that way. And so as trends have developed, we've had to also kind of develop new clean techniques and things like, are there any trends in the flooring industry or business that are kind of like in the next 5 years that we could look forward to? That we wouldn't know about.
Great question.
Yeah, I mean, because there's always something, and because we're always kind of in somewhat of a reactionary mode to that, right?
I mean, the biggest thing that I see happening are people ripping out these floating floors and then putting more hardwood or tile or something down.
Gotcha.
And, but I mean, I think the days of people redoing their whole entire house at once, I think are gone, and they're going to kind of do room by room again, which, I think is exciting because they can actually focus more and invest more into that one space, but I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, the biggest one thing, what you guys should get into? What you need to get.
What?
And I just learned this like a couple weeks ago from Ralph Brookins, who's awesome.
They do a great job.
Phenomenal job. And that's like the great thing. Like we have a great partnership with Ralph, and he, I've bought floor that I can't. He has certain lines, and we have a great partnership. But one thing that you guys could get in that I know one of your competitors is doing, Stanley Steamer, which we don't want them to do. We want Peerless to do it. Is these wire brush French oak floors. Okay, they're more of a matte finish, and they have heavier grain. Well, there's a deep scrubber now that you can run across it, because 3-4 years later, people didn't know that it's not in the floor, but it's in the grain, and people just wet mopping and going over it. This dirt and everything's getting into it where it needs a deep clean.
I got you.
I'll get you the machine. No, I'm being dead serious because Ralph does it, and I think only your competitor does it, but there's going to be such a demand for that to be here.
That's good to know.
That they're going to need to have it probably routine deep clean every probably 3 to 4 years. And that could be something that's a maintenance plan.
Yeah. Good idea. I like it.
Well, and it's something that no one else is offering. And we're going in, and people are like, Kim, it's looking like my floor's wearing. Well, it hasn't even gotten through the aluminum oxide. It's just dirt and grit
in the grain.
In the grain. And that's something you guys should look into. I'll get you the machine.
There's our trend.
I love that. Is your trend.
So I'm curious. I know your dad. I've known him for many years. You guys obviously probably run the business very different. What are the a couple things that you're like, boy, I learned this from my dad, and it is invaluable in running a business?
Invaluable or valuable? Because I would say I'd have more. Or is that the same thing?
Yeah, like invaluable. Yeah, like you want to do it. I mean, you want to make sure you continue doing it.
Yes. So I will tell you, I've had more aha moments. So the biggest thing that for me is I focus so much on culture and like kind of level field where he's like, Kim, it's business. You give an inch, they take a mile. And that's one of those things that him and I battled on for the hardest time. But now I'm learning more of the things that he instilled with me that I kind of thought made him kind of a jerk, or hey, you need to be nicer. And it's like, but now I understand, because I'm not turning into him, but I understand the frustration level.
Yes.
Because it's one of those things where it's like, at the end of the day, everybody could walk away and you have everything invested in the business. And making sure those boundaries are just very, very, very set. And understanding that at the end of the day, you still are the owner, and it's your dollar at the end of the day. A lot of things, having a strict voice, where maybe I was too buddy-buddy. About a month ago, I was on one, and I went to everyone. I go, what am I doing for no one to listen to me right now? Why is it that I ask something and you're not doing it? And it's not like I'm asking, I will go clean the toilets if there's an accident. I'm not asking for something that's, but when I say, this is why I want it, why is it not being done? I go, what? You guys just make the decisions at the end of the day? Then you take all the risk. And they're just like, and it's like, I'm not trying to become, a female dog here, but you're putting me in a position where you're not listening. And that's what I have a problem with. And we have a great crew, but people do get comfortable. And when things slow down or things change, it's when you start to reevaluate, how can we be better? And
you're right. Chris always says people have a natural tendency to drift. Like,
it's human nature.
It's just
we drift. So you're setting the guardrails back up when they drift too far, right?
Well, and it's like it bothers me more than anything, right? We have this group.
Tell us how you really feel.
We have a group chat. Okay, if I'm not in on a Saturday, I'm hey guys. how's it going over there? How many customers? Like they have to tell me every day how many new, existing, how many measures they set up and transactions.
Yeah.
Very simple for what people get paid, right? And I'll say, how's it going over there? And I don't hear something from the whole group chat for like 2 hours. It's been slow. Well, I know you've been on your phone. Why haven't you told me that?
Right.
Or then I pop in and there's samples everywhere and I'm like, clean the showroom up.
Yeah.
My biggest frustration is, and it gets to me and then it doesn't, but I don't like when people get complacent because when you get complacent or when you are drifting,
Yep.
Yeah.
The next store could start to
that's right.
slowly inch because that's what we did.
Yeah.
We inched and then Springfield's not growing, so you're gaining market share.
Right.
And it's like, how do you stand out against
That's right.
X, Y, and
Absolutely.
Z?
Yeah.
And I'm very much my dad's sternness and the respect. I mean, it didn't create the best culture and for people to want to stay there, but having that balance. But I wish, I think him transitioning and the succession of it and everything, it was his identity. I mean, I kind of forced him into that, getting retired early. But what I would give back to just having him there, on a daily basis or maybe once a week.
Right.
And I called him up the other day and I asked him, he goes, Kim, I dealt with that. And I just wish we could be more comfortable with those conversations more.
Yeah.
But there's just, it's lonely in the sense of like, bouncing ideas. I learned so much more from other business owners and different businesses because it is lonely. And it's like, where do you go from here? What do you do the next thing? Am I spinning my wheels? And it's like, but then you get the customers that walk in and they're like, we've been 5 places. You guys have been awesome.
Yeah.
We're working with you.
Yeah.
That's what motivates you every day.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
I think, what is my next purpose after me? Like, I knew my goal was to buy my dad out. And it's like, I wanted to open a furniture store. I want to try to be the best in town, provide the best service, do the best I can. You walk into a place, you give back to the community, you donate to schools, you do all the things. It's like, but what's my next step? And it's like, I don't know what that is. And that's where, maybe if my dad and I had more conversations, we could figure that out. But he taught me just to take care of people. And, I remember I was 16 and a guy came in and this was like the best lesson that I ever learned. And I'm glad I learned it when I was 16 and not like 25, right? And he goes, what are you doing, young girl? And I'm like, oh gosh, I am just like, I totally think I'm so cool and I know everything. And I'm like, why is this old man talking to me right now? And, just total head up my rear, right? And, he had like overalls on and he's just trying to shoot it with me. And I'm like, quit talking to me. My dad's in there, right? He leaves and my dad comes up to me and he goes, hey, Kim, you never judge a book by its cover. He goes, when I was electrocuted, when I was in high school, he did all my plastics. He's a plastic surgeon. Wow. And it was one of those things where it was like, it was the best lesson I could have ever learned. And then, and this gentleman won't mind me saying this because he was just in the store on Friday and we were talking about it. But this other guy gave me the best, kind of the best lesson when I was 22. They were building a new house with Zen and he owned a business in town. And I was just so used to selling at a warehouse, wheeling and dealing. That's all. And he goes, Kim, you told me I couldn't afford it. I go, well, I never said that. He goes, but you never gave me an option. And I go, this is the product that you want to use. Well, why don't I want this? Well, it's not in your budget. But, you're 22, you don't know. Right. And you're given an allowance or a budget by a builder. And he goes, just show it to me.
Yeah.
He goes, just show it to me.
I might want to blow my budget.
Blow my budget. And on the floor. And he goes, wow me, Kim. You're not wowing me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, but I'm going to be over budget. Then you're going to go bid me against Carpet Weavers, Arizona Time. I'm going to lose all these people. Like, I'm not even going to get the job. But I did. And come to find out, they ended up spending, instead of $3 a square foot, $8.50 on wood, and it opened my eyes. And he literally, him and his wife were just in, and we were talking about it. I remember the exact floor they bought, this Amalfi Coast, and I was trying to sell them Sutton's Mountain, and they're like, we don't want it. And it opened up my mind outside of just that wheel and deal everyday customer, and that probably was the pivotal part of my career where I just started showing, hey, we don't need to just go out there.
I love it.
Let's look in here and keep moving from there. So
that's cool.
I hope that's okay. I go on tangents.
That was really good.
No, that was great. And your dad told me to ask that question.
Oh, did he?
No, he didn't. I'm just kidding.
He probably would. He's probably sitting there like, oh gosh, what else is she gonna say?
I bet he watches this. But
he is very proud.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I know that.
Well, he taught me just to take care of people, and that's it's something that we hire people because they're good people, and then we can teach them the flooring business.
Yeah.
And one thing that my dad always taught me was, you take care of the community, you take care of your people, like you take care of people, and it'll come full circle.
Absolutely.
And when I feel down or what am I doing, there's always like a sign from, above. And it's like somebody just comes in with like the greatest thing to say to just remotivate you. Yeah. And I feel like you guys do it here. And, watching Matt, like from when he kind of moved back here to how he takes care of people, he gets it.
Yeah.
And that's where you just get it. And Springfield's great because if you go to a big city, people don't care about it as much. But in Springfield or Decatur, Champaign, anywhere else, they want to be taken care of. They want to support local.
Yes.
They don't want to see you fail.
Right.
And you either got it or you don't. Yep. And, in the next, I'd say 10 years, it'll be interesting in our business. I don't know who's going to take over the next flooring stores in Springfield. It scares me because I'm like, I don't know how much more, we can take, but we're ready for it.
Yeah. Right.
But if you're not invested in it and you're not taking care of people, you'll get,
Yep.
And that's the one thing that my dad taught me from, the very beginning. So it's the best lesson I could have learned.
Great life lesson. Take care of people, treat people the right way. And and it comes full circle.
100%.
Absolutely. For sure.
Well, I know she's a lot younger than most of our guests, but we have to ask her the question.
Ask this? Because, is she even 25 yet? We're not asking age.
Yeah.
So we always ask folks if you could look back.
Yeah.
All the things you've learned in your time with the store and just life in general. If you could tell your 22-year-old self something, what advice would you give your 22-year-old self based on what you've experienced through your lifetime?
It all works itself out. I think in my 20s, so I just turned 34.
We didn't ask.
Well, I know, but I feel like I'm like 50 in our industry. I took a lot of stuff home and took it personal. Now those are like greatest lessons, but I am so calm, like this is me calm. And I wasn't calm in my 20s and I just wish like everything's literally going to be all right. Yeah. And it's like, angry you're not going to make everything, fine and dandy, but it's how you resolve the problem or that you care that does. But I think just slowing down, I wish like the last 5 years with my dad went differently. And I think if I had a different outlook on it like I do now, I could have gone into it better. But sometimes that's not how it's meant to happen. But I would just say be patient. And like I've got an awesome guy at staff that he's been with me 11 years,
That's awesome. Yeah.
And he is a hustler, but he's so quick to respond, and he knows that. And I'm like, hey, let me finish what I'm saying before, we even go down that.
Yeah.
And I always joke, and I'm like, I was there, I am you, but like that transition just to slow down and listen more than you speak is one of the things I wish I would have told myself in my 20s, because I'd probably be in a different situation now. I wouldn't change where I'm at, but I think I would have learned a lot more, a lot faster.
Awesome.
So,
great answer.
like it.
Hey, and it at 34, I'm 62. I'm still trying to figure that out.
I don't think we're ever going to stop learning.
No,
right?
and I would tell you that your energy is infectious. Keep it up because it's been fun to watch you guys grow your business.
Well, it's fun, and it's like you. It's exciting. It's like you walk through. When people rely on you. I remember being in a man-dominated business. Like this is the last thing I'm going to say, but I remember I'd show they'd be like, "Hey, we want to get a measure," and I'd answer. I'm like, "Okay." And I'd show up to a contractor and I'm like 22, 23 and they're like, oh, well, we can measure it. Yeah. And you know what I'd say? I'd say, hey, it's actually faster if I do it. You just
That's good. I like it.
You had to hold your own because it was like, John did it this way, male dominated. You're dealing with male installers.
Yep.
You have to just carry that
I love it.
confidence and energy so people, they come to you, they trust in you. And you have to have a backbone. So it's been fun, and I'm excited, and look forward to seeing what the next years bring.
Keep it up.
But you guys need to get that new floor scrubber.
All right. Well, we're going to do it.
You're going to do it.
I'll get Matt on that.
Yeah. Get it on the table over there.
Yeah.
Mike, you got something you got to do today.
All right. Thanks
for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Yeah.